Despite the challenges it has faced over the years, Jetstar Asia has operated within the highly competitive aviation market in Southeast Asia. From Singapore, the Qantas Group-backed low-cost carrier has enhanced the Australian airline group's network in the region. However, just over 2 decades since its first flight took off, the Quantis Group recently announced its decision to shut down the budget airline. The move has surprised many aviation industry observers, derailing the travel plans of affected customers, and thrown Jetstar Asia employees into uncertainty. With Singapore as a major aviation hub in Southeast Asia, there is no question this airline closure will impact the aviation industry in the region. So in this video, we'll take a look at the decision by Quantis Group to shut down Jetstar Asia, what's next for Singapore and the region's aviation industry. On June 11, 2025, the Quantis Group officially announced its decision to close Jetstar Asia. According to the Australian airline group, the decision was made along with its majority shareholder, Westbrook Investments, to close the Singapore-based budget airline. The decision will affect all Jetstar Asia operated flights with the 3K flight code to and from Singapore, along with a fifth freedom route between Manila and Osaka Kansai. And its current operations will be progressively reduced until its last flight on July 31st. The operations at Singapore and other parts of Asia operated by the 2 other Jetstar carriers, Jetstar Japan with the GK flight code and Jetstar or JQ, are not affected. The announcement came to a surprise to many, especially to the airline's 500 employees and passengers. Jetstar Asia has stated it will provide assistance including refunds and accommodation for its customers with existing bookings on cancelled flights. All affected Jetstar Asia employees will be provided redundancy benefits as well as employment support services and job opportunities across the group and other regional airlines. Though for the airline group, it was a decision knowing the challenges it has faced over the years. Quantis described the move to close Jetstar Asia as a, quote, strategic restructure, as the airline cited challenges such as rising supplier costs, higher airport fees, and competition in the region. According to Quantas Group CEO Vanessa Hudson, Jetstar Asia has seen some of its supplier costs increase by up to 200%. Prior to the closure, the budget carrier is expected to post an underlying EBIT loss of around 35 million Australian dollars during the financial year. In a statement, Hudson said, "We are incredibly proud of the Jetstar Asia team and the work they have done to deliver low fares, strong operational performance, and exceptional customer service. This is a very tough day for them. Despite their best efforts, we have seen some Jetstar Asia supplier costs increase by up to 200%, which has materially changed its cost base." Jetstar Asia will end the operation of the budget airline, which was first launched in 2004. Founded as a joint venture between Qantas and several Singapore-based businessmen and companies. Among the backers of Jetstar Asia was Singapore's government investment firm, Temasek Holdings, which eventually exited the venture in 2009. Throughout its history, it has played catch-up to other established players such as AirAsia and Tiger Airways, which the latter would become part of Singapore Airlines' budget subsidiary Scoot. Though in 2005, it did boost its position, taking on Singapore's first low-cost carrier, Value Air, through a merger. Today, Jetstar Asia operates a fleet of 13 narrow-body Airbus A320 aircraft to 16 destinations, mostly within Southeast Asia. Among the destinations outside the region include Wuxi, China, Osaka, Japan via Manila, and Colombo, Sri Lanka. While providing low fares for travel within the region, it also serves to provide connections via Singapore to other nearby cities such as Denpasar, Bali, Medan, Phuket, Krabi, and Jakarta for travelers on flights operated by other Jetstar carriers and Qantas. Facing losses and being in a highly competitive hub of Singapore, the Quantis Group has made the business decision to close its Singapore-based budget carrier venture. By closing Jetstar Asia, Qantas will conclude its Singapore-based venture, which is one of the 3 ventures formed outside of Australia. It was part of Qantas' ambitious plan in the early 2000s to capitalize on the emerging markets in Asia through budget carrier ventures in Vietnam with Jetstar Pacific and also in Japan with Jetstar Japan. The airline group also had plans to launch a Hong Kong-based venture, Jetstar Hong Kong, which eventually fell through. Qantas exited from Jetstar Pacific in 2020, so with the closure of Jetstar Asia, Jetstar Japan now remains the group's lone non-Australia-based venture still operating. As it announced the closure of Jetstar Asia, Qantas stated the reasons for the decision, including the rising supplier costs, high airport fees, and regional competition. One particular statement stood out, saying the reasons cited as fundamentally changed the low-cost airline's ability to deliver returns comparable to stronger performing core markets in the group. Being an Australian airline, Qantas is refocusing the resources that would be allocated to Jetstar Asia back to its operations in Australia and its neighbor across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand. While estimating the financial impact of the closure of Jetstar Asia to be worth around 175 million Australian dollars over the course of the fiscal years 2025 and 2026, Qantas also stated the move will unlock up to 500 million Australian dollars in fleet capital into the Quantis Group's core businesses and improve long-term returns. Jetstar Asia 13 A320s will be redeployed to the group's core markets in Australia and New Zealand. Some of the aircraft will replace leased aircraft in Jetstar Airways' domestic operation and also help accelerate the airline's ongoing fleet renewal program. Qantas identified the soon-to-be former Jetstar aircraft will help in regional operations, especially in Western Australia. Despite losing its locally based venture in Singapore, the Quantis Group will continue to remain represented well in the city and Southeast Asia. While reallocating resources to better serve the Australian and New Zealand markets, the airline group is also removing redundancies within its network, especially to and from Singapore. In addition, Qantas and Jetstar has been boosting its presence in Southeast Asia, especially with direct flights between Australia and the region. Singapore is a highly competitive aviation market with a great mix of airlines that have also used Changi Airport as its own connecting hub. For Qantas, it has been an important hub in its history, especially serving as a stop on the Kangaroo route between Sydney and London. Today, Qantas operates 5 routes from Australia: Brisbane, Darwin, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. The airline also continues the tradition of operating the Kangaroo route via Singapore to London Heathrow. Supporting Jetstar Asia and Qantas in Singapore is Jetstar's services to the city from Melbourne and Perth, as well as its own Fifth Freedom route to Denpasar. With the closure of Jetstar Asia, Qantas removed some redundancies in its network in Southeast Asia. An example of this is at Denpasar, where both Jetstar Asia and Jetstar operates flights between Singapore and the popular Indonesian resort destination. Qantas, through Jetstar, has been boosting its flights to Denpasar, where customers can travel with the budget airline to Bali from 6 cities in Australia: Adelaide, Cairns, Darwin, Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney. Qantas also operates flights to Bali from Melbourne and Sydney, and the airline group's presence will be increased further with new routes by Jetstar from Gold Coast and Newcastle. Other Jetstar Asia destinations that will continue to be served by Quantis Group carriers include Bangkok, where Qantas operates direct flights from Sydney, while Jetstar operates flights from Brisbane, Melbourne, and Perth. In Indonesia, Qantas operates direct flights to Jakarta from Melbourne and Sydney, while Jetstar operates flights to Phuket from Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney. Qantas currently operates flights from Brisbane and Sydney to Manila, Philippines, though the airline group is expected to boost its services to the country with new Jetstar operated routes to Manila from Perth and a new route from Brisbane and Cebu, which will be the first direct air link to the central Philippine city to Australia. For Singapore and Changi Airport, there likely will not be a need for a new budget airline to fill the void left by Jetstar Asia. The city-state's main airline group, Singapore Airlines Group, fully supports its budget subsidiary Scoot, which can pick up the slack of routes that Jetstar Asia will relinquish, such as to Wuxi, Naha, and Colombo. Other regional-based airlines already with a strong presence in Singapore, especially the big budget airline groups such as AirAsia, Lion Air, and Vietjet, can add to their services from their Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippine-based subsidiaries. A closure of an airline, big or small, always has consequences, whether good or bad. While it impacts passengers and their employees, ultimately is a tough decision that has to be made at times. This was a very tough move for Qantas to make, as Singapore has been historically a significant hub for the airline. It was an opportunity to provide budget flights in one of Southeast Asia's most powerful cities and countries. However, its current situation in Singapore no longer warrants having a locally based airline venture. Now, other airlines, including Qantas and Jetstar, will help fill the void left by the closure of Jetstar Asia. What are your thoughts about the closure of Jetstar Asia? Have you flown with a Singapore-based budget airline and have any experiences you'd like to share? How do you see the void left by Jetstar Asia will be filled? I definitely would love to hear your thoughts though. That's all for now. This has been another edition of Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in the Asia Pacific. Thank you for watching and have a great day.